Greetings, YouTube. Time for another bit of a rant. And this is about a GPS. Now, I have a GPS, a dedicated GPS in my car. It sticks to my window. Um, and I use that instead of my phone because it doesn't burn minutes. It doesn't use any data on my phone if I just use the GPS. And it's plugged into my car, so it's always got power. And I've had a number of them over the years. And the first one we ever had in the car had a choice of voices. And one of the voices was Samantha. And that's the one I picked. And I've picked the same voice every single time. So I always refer to my GPS as Sam. Now, one of the reasons I got a GPS was to stop arguments between my wife and I, because we didn't do well when trying to get from point A to point B when we had to rely on written instructions or one of our memories or something like that. And part of that is that because my wife is dyslexic. So if I had to watch her hands, because she would go right when this is my left hand. She'd point left and she'd say right. And her hand was correct. The hand was pointing where we had to go, but she was telling me to go right. Very confusing. So having a GPS solved that problem. And my current one's a Garmin. I believe I've done a video review of that on my channel. And I'm really happy with it overall. However, it, for some strange reasons, doesn't seem to understand that left-hand turns exist. Now, I don't know if how many of you ever used hand signals, but that's a right turn, that's a left turn, and that going straight. That is stop. People on motorcycles still use those if they're smart, because not all motorcycles have turn signals. But that's how you do it. Right, left, stop. Very simple. But my GPS doesn't seem to understand that exists, because there are times when she takes me on the most convoluted routes to get to someplace, then all I have to do is stop the car and turn left. Sometimes it's at intersections. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's on a road where I would take a left into a parking lot. And I will admit there are times when you can't take a left. For example, if you're on a road, it's got 2 lanes that go this direction, 2 lanes that go to the other direction, and there's a cement median between them. Makes perfect sense. You can't go right or left there because there's a cement median in the way. But that isn't always true. And it's very frustrating for me because I'm listening to the GPS, and sometimes I know where I'm going. When it's the place I don't go often, which is why I have it programmed into my GPS, either permanently or for that one use. I have a fairly long list of places I go in every thrift shop, every Savers and Goodwill in the state is programmed into my GPS. And I had that happen to me today. I actually stopped at a location on my way to somewhere else because I saw it. I was driving past it, going to a hardware store. And I happened to go driving past it. I pulled in and I checked the door to see what time they were going to open. They were going to open at 10. So I kept going to the hardware store. Sadly, the hardware store didn't have what I wanted, but they did have some nice line, which I will use in the weapon wrap. And then she took me back because I'm like, okay, now I want to go back there because it's almost time for them to open. Awesome. Except she wants me to go, she tells me to go past the destination, and then there's no median. All I have to do is take a left into the parking lot. She tells me to go past the destination, go up to a dog leg, and take a left at a dog leg where a road does this. And then she tells me to turn around, which I have to do because I've driven past my destination. I just didn't notice it. Because again, it's a place I haven't been in. Even though I had stopped there today, I hadn't driven in the same direction. So if I'm driving in a different direction, I sometimes have a difficult time telling where things are. I don't know if I'm dyslexic or I just don't do well with directions. I don't know what to tell you why that's always been that way. Unless I've been a place many times, I have a hard time finding it quite frequently. So I had to do a dog leg and do a reverse, and I finally came back and parked in the destination when all she had to do is tell me to go left. And it's very frustrating. Another frustration I've had is that Daniel Webster Highway is a main drag in the state of New Hampshire. Okay, it's an important damn road. And I was trying to get somewhere on it and she wouldn't recognize Daniel Webster Highway, nor would she recognize the number designation as a place that can have an address on it. So what I had to do is do a search, and I couldn't find the location I was looking for. There was not and there was no search in her system, but her system knows like some businesses and stuff. So I picked one near it, I thought, hit that, and then I was able to find it physically on my own just by driving around. But the problem is that as I'm going to the place that she knows that exists, she's telling me to drive on Daniel Webster Highway. It says Daniel Webster Highway right on my screen. So how can she know that Daniel Webster Highway exists for the purposes of telling me to get to a destination in her memory, but can't accept Daniel Webster Highway as a destination if I tell her to go to somewhere on Daniel Webster Highway or any of the, or the number designation? Nope, doesn't happen. She has a hard time with route designations as well. Sometimes I'll put a route designation in and she's just like, I won't accept it as an address. Sorry. And so I have to find a way of doing it. And sometimes I've actually had to rely on my phone because my GPS simply does not accept that the location I'm trying to get to exists. So I've had to use my phone, which is, I don't have a holder for my phone, so it's a heck of a lot more awkward than using the GPS. And it is frustrating. But by and large, I love my GPS. It allows me to do a lot of yard sailing because I can plan out routes in my city or around my city or where I'm going. It allows me to get to estate sales. I went to an estate sale today and I got an entire box of tools for $20. So she lets me get to all kinds of places by myself that otherwise I wouldn't get to go. Places that my wife really has no interest in going to. So she's a godsend, but she's also incredibly, unbelievably frustrating at times.